An appreciation of some of the concepts of data acquisition is useful, as this might impact on the measurement settings. In a modern digital instrument, the data acquisition system is responsible for converting the analog signal into a digital signal. And this implies some form of sampling, which is usually triggered either by a timer or by some feedback of the spindle position. There might also be a need for amplification, especially where there are selectable ranges, such as in our inductive systems. However, there will almost certainly be a filtering stage. This could be an explicit filter or one that's inherent in the way in which the converter works. This graphic here shows the inductive gauge. Movement at the stylus tip will cause movement of an armature within the coils of a variable differential transformer. The electronics associated with the transformer produce a signal that is proportional to the displacement of the stylus tip. Now, for clarity, I've omitted from this diagram the stylus angle setting mechanism and the interface between the stylus and the gauge. However, what is immediately apparent is that the stylus is part of a lever mechanism. So the stylus beam here between the tip and the pivot, and then there's a beam here between the pivot and the armature. If we alter the length of the stylus beam, it alters the ratio of this lever, and that alters the range and the resolution of the instrument. The data acquisition system is responsible for initial signal conditioning, and that means for converting the individual readings into a digital format and for storing the readings for later processing. Signal conditioning might involve filtering and amplification of the signal. Different levels of amplification might be used to provide different ranges. For example, for alignment settings such as centering and leveling, or a higher amplification for measurement. It's useful to have an understanding of filtering in the data acquisition system, as it might impact on the measurement results, although this is normally only a consideration for wide bandwidth measurements. In the data acquisition system, filtering is important for two primary reasons: to reduce or suppress noise, and to ensure that the sample conditionings are met by limiting the upper frequencies admitted to the analog to digital conversion stage. If the upper frequencies are not adequately suppressed, then aliasing may occur. Now, aliasing is where a signal is sampled more slowly than necessary, resulting in the sampled signal appearing like a lower frequency signal. The frequency at which you must sample above is known as the Nyquist frequency. So this graphic shows how a sine wave that's sampled more slowly than necessary appears as a sine wave with a lower frequency. And this is aliasing. So you can see the blue sine wave there with 5 cycles, and the orange sample point shown by the circles are at longer than half of one wavelength. As a consequence, when you reconstruct the sine wave from the sampled points, you end up with the orange sine wave that's shown, which is a much lower frequency than the sine wave that was actually the original frequency. Data analysis is accomplished these days by some form of digital computer. And this might be an embedded computer, it might be a PDA, such as we use on our Citronic products, or it could be a separate desktop computer, such as a PC. One of the first requirements of the analysis system is to apply a band limiting filter to the data. This deliberately modifies the recorded profile by limiting the wavelengths to prescribed values in prescribed ways. This has two benefits. Firstly, it removes wavelengths that are not considered to be relevant, and secondly, it provides comparability of the analysis from one system to another. This intentional modification of the profile alters the final result that will be derived from the profile. For this reason, it's important to make sure that the correct filter type and cutoff are selected when analysing the data. The second requirement of the data analysis system is to provide parameter results. Additional results such as graphical displays or printouts are also frequently provided. Now, ISO 12181 defines several parameters relating to roundness. However, the parameter most frequently used in roundness assessment is total roundness, sometimes called roundness peak to valley, and is designated as RON-T, as shown there.